Hi everyone, this is Sarah and I'm a programmer from the Innisfil Idea Lab and library. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own custom gift tags using Cricut Design Space. So the first thing that we're going to do is click on this little plus sign to start a new project. And then it's going to open up into our workspace. You'll notice here on the left hand side of the screen there are a bunch of different options that we can work with. We're going to choose Images, and then in the search bar right up here I'm going to type in the word tag since we're looking for a gift tag today. You'll see a bunch of options here and we can scroll through to see what we like. If any of them are two colors like this, then that means that there's more than one layer involved. And these white shapes on these tags over here are actually going to be cut out of the cardstock. So that's just something to keep in mind while you're looking. Once you find one you like, you can click on it so that it highlights green, and then click Insert Images. Now it's going to appear in the workspace. So you can use these arrows here to kind of scale it to whatever size you like. These are the inches on the side, so it'll let you know how big it is, or you can actually go up to this size tool and change it here. So I'm going to make it about 2.5 inches wide. That looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to make this one for Father's Day since it's coming up. So I'm going to try to get rid of this high heel shoe on the tag. And the way that we can do that is by going down to the contour button at the bottom of the layers palette here. And once this window pops up, we can just click on the pieces that we don't want. Just like that. And then click on the X. And now that shoe is gone. So I want to add some words to the gift tag, and I'm going to utilize the writing tool instead of the cut tool for this. So what we're going to do is click on the text button here, and then I'm going to write Father's Day. Alright, so now what we're going to do is go up to the font tool here, and then go up to the filter and click on writing. So these are all of the fonts that the Cricut will recognize that we're going to use the marker tool for when it comes to actually creating the gift tag. Because if we just use a regular font, the Cricut might try to cut it out, and even if we got it to write, it would just write the outline of the font instead of the actual font. So these are fonts that work really well for that. So I'm just going to find one that I like. Go with that one. So I like the look of that. So now you can just kind of play with the spacing or the alignment. For example, I'm going to pop this down so it's on 2 lines and then click on the alignment tool and click on center. So now you can play with the line space, like you can pull it closer together, click on the button, it's a little bit tighter together, and then you're just going to scale it to make sure that it fits well over your card. So that looks pretty good to me. Now what you're going to want to do is click on the text and make sure that this says draw. Sometimes the font will still come up as a cut file, and that's not what we want. So the way to change that is to click on the layer that you want, go up to here, and we would have switched cut to draw, just so that it knows that we want to use the marker tool and not the actual cut tool. Alright, so once we have the tag the way that we like it, we have to attach the 2 layers together just so the Cricut knows that we want the text to draw on top of the cutout tag. So we can do this by selecting one of the layers, holding Shift, selecting the other layer, and then at the bottom you'll see this little paperclip and it says attach. So now we'll click on that. So that way it knows that we want it to write exactly where we have it there. So once you've done that, you can now go to Make It up at the top corner here. Click on that. So now it's going to show up like this on our mat. So these numbers at the side tell you the inches and the measurements. So you can actually change how many cards you would like to be cut. So I'm going to say 3 and click Apply. Actually, it looks like I can fit one more, so I'm going to go to 4 and click apply. So now I have 4 that tile up well on my mat. The only thing to keep in mind, you can do a whole bunch at once as long as you make sure that your material is as wide and as long as your tags are, because you obviously wouldn't want it cutting off and cutting into the mat. So once it looks like this, we can click on continue. Alright, so once it loads which machine we want to use, we need to tell it which material that we want to use as well. So I'm just going to click on Browse All Materials. We can search and type in cardstock. Mine's a bit lighter, so I'm just going to click on medium cardstock, but you can pick any of these depending on which kind of cardstock you're using, and just click on Done. So now you'll notice that it's looking for a pen, the blade, and then it's ready to go. So I'll show you how to set up the marker and the blade and how to load your mat. And then we're ready to go. Alright, so now we are ready to put the marker in the clamp. So I have a bunch of different markers. I'm just going to pick this blue one for now and load it into our clamp. Just going to make sure that it actually works. I haven't used these in a while. So what we're going to do is just pull on this little tab so that it pops open. And we just stick the marker right in the hole with the lid off until we hear it click. And now we will close this over. Perfect. So now the marker is in clamp A and I already have the blade in clamp B. So that is perfect and ready to go. So now we're going to take this cardstock and get it ready to be cut. So for cardstock, I always like to use the blue mat just because it's a little bit less sticky than the green one, so it's easier to get off once it's cut. Let's take off the protective layer. So now I just want to be careful that I line up the cardstock to the top corner. Perfect. And then I'm just going to make sure that all 4 of mine fits properly. And yep, so they're just under 11 inches on the screen, and this is just at 11 inches, so it will cut perfectly fine with all 4. So I'll click on continue again. Back to cardstock. All right, so now we are ready to go. So I'll just make sure that the cardstock's nice and smooth to the mat, so there's no lifting at all. Just kind of smoothing it like this. So now we're going to hook the mat under the 2 white pieces to feed the mat into the machine. And you'll notice that the flashing arrow is on, so I will click it so it feeds it into the machine. Once it's fed in properly, the flashing C will appear, so I can click on that, and it should begin writing, and then it'll go back for another cut. So I'll show you here. So it does take a little bit of time, but that's okay. The effect is really nice afterwards. So now we wait. Alright, so now that it is done with the marker, it's going to go back around and cut out our actual tags. Okay, so once it completes its cut, we can click on the arrow to remove it from the machine. Now you will notice that my blade is a little bit dull, so we did have a lot of ripping, unfortunately. I just have an old blade. This one looks the most salvageable, so I'm going to go with that one. So I'm just going to slowly remove it. Let's get rid of this little piece here. It kind of tore. That's okay. If you have a newer blade than mine, you shouldn't run into this problem as often. Fortunately, I need to get a new blade. But hopefully yours doesn't rip and it will look better than mine. But this is your finished project, so there's a nice little tag. If you do run into this problem where it's ripping a lot, another option is to just pick a different shape here that's a little bit thicker, because anything that's thin, the Cricut has a little bit more hard time with, but overall, looks pretty good. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.